How's it going, everybody? A lot of stuff's been going on lately. I mean, Joe Biden's, $800 million to Israel as they murder children because anti-Semitism. Yeah, there's children being bombed in Yemen. Venezuela is still being sanctioned to death. We're selling bombs all over the place. People are losing their homes. Media is not reporting on it. People are marching for Palestine and like in the hundreds of thousands. CNN, MSNBC would rather talk about January 6th and other garbage. Because why? Why, you may be wondering. And that's what I'm here to answer. It is because of one thing and one thing unequivocally. Money is our real government. What? Yes, money is our real government. Now wait, money's our real government. Okay, so what am I actually saying when I say money is our real government? I'm saying we're not a representative, we're not a democracy, we are a government, quote unquote, or a form of governance that is created through the mechanization, judgment, and execution of money. What am I saying? What's my evidence? First off, I'll just make it plain and simple. Are you going to eat today? What determines that? Money. Are you going to have a place to sleep today? Who's going to determine that? Money. Are you going to have a vehicle? You know what I mean? License, registration, gas for your car. What does that? Money. Also money. Entertainment, any level of happiness, enjoyment, leisure. Money. At the end of the day, the reality is simply this. Our government, our entire society, in fact, the entire world is ruled by the functional representation of individuals and their association with money. Now, why do I say that? Because Jank recently posted a dumbass Twitter comment. He's like, I can't believe the progressives thought that Joe Biden was going to do this. And this pathetic joke, I think on January, I forget when, January 6th was just like, yes, I mean, through the visible hand of the market, we got a comfy grandpa in office who's, supporting a genocide of children. So great job, Jank. Great job. Sure, that money is really helping you out. The point being is simply this. We have lost our perception on what money actually is. And what is money actually? It's a tool. Money is a tool. Okay? It's a tool that humanity created, just like agriculture, just like written language. You can have English, you can have German, but at the end of the day, they're just tools for the help. They're just tools that are used to help benefit the communication between people. Guess what? You can change a tool. You can make it more complex. You can make it more simplistic. You can redo it. Tools are only of benefit to humanity when they benefit humanity. And one of the simple truths about today's world and today's society is money does not serve humanity. In fact, humanity ends up serving money in every functional capacity and format. Now, the reason that this is important is because of the fact a lot of people don't understand why there is so much suffering in the world. And the reason there is so much suffering in the world is because humanity has begun to organize. And we're literally the greatest organizing species that this planet has ever seen. But humanity has began to organize around one thing and one thing above everything else. The acquisition of money, which is just a tool. We made it up. It makes no sense. We created it. You know what I mean? It's like humanity coming together for the acquisition of the color blue. Doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? It's a term, it's an idea, it's a thought process, but by no means is it stuck in this structural capacity. But, because of the fact that those in power, at the end of the day, understand the truth and this functionality, they've chosen one thing above everything. They've decided that at the end of the day, in order to ensure their sustained power and their sustained capacity to rule over the peons and the plebeians, what they would do is they would focus all human attention on the acquisition of money. And in fact, more so than that, they would go to other countries, destabilize those other countries if it was ever even looking like that they were actually going to bring themselves to a place of independence from the United States dollar and the United States economic system. Because this is the thing. If all the world is run off the United States economy, an economic system, and the United States military, the biggest military in the entire world, will destroy any country who does not bow and scrape to the US dollar or the petrodollar or the functional structure that comes from the petrodollar plus Wall Street, then at the end of the day, you can literally rule the world simply by a currency. And that's the condition that we're living in right now. And the truth is, It's very easy to change. Honestly, if you had 35% of the population that actually comprehensively understood that money is just a tool that humanity created, and at the end of the fucking day, it can be changed at any point in time, you could restructure this entire system. It makes no sense for a person like Jeff Bezos, who's a sack of unequivocal shit, to have all that fucking money when there's mothers across the goddamn country who are not only homeless, but don't have fucking money to feed their goddamn children. And it doesn't make sense if you have a system in America itself where 40% of the food goes to waste because in order for food to have value, you have to pay for it. It is a system inherently designed to degrade the very value of human life. And because of the fact we live in a system of economics that is of such and of sorts, what has happened and was concluded through the very nature of engaging with this system, we as humanity and so many people within this country and across the world have came to the false conclusion. I'll just go with that. Sorry, my mind is a little hazy sometimes, but we came to the false conclusion that our society, our world works the way it is right because it works the way it does. You know what I mean? It's a fallacy of like the world is right because the world is. Sadly, that is not true. And what has happened because of the fact we all know in America, homeless people. We see it all the fucking time. We see homeless people fucking everywhere. You know how much money it would take to end homelessness? $20 billion a year. Literally $20 billion. We could literally slash the fucking Pentagon budget for 1 year by $100 billion and fund and destroy homelessness for 5 years in America. Literally, just cut the military budget for $100 billion 1 year, raise it back up to, your insane numbers so you can continue supporting genocides of children in Yemen, Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. Go fuck yourself. And then you can bring, 1 year, take it down 100 billion and then bring it back up and you would end homelessness in this country for 5 fucking years. Why don't we do that? Because of the fact that having that level of such degraded poverty ensures that the majority of the working population is too afraid to stop working, to take any time to actually question the functionality of this system or to question the reality and functionality of money within this fucking country. That's the reality. And this is what the people in Wall Street don't want you to know. The people in fucking Congress don't want you to know. Because at the end of the day, money rules this country. So much so, MSNBC, CNN, they are mechanizations of money. Like I said, over 100,000 people marching for Palestine. CNN, MSNBC is not fucking covering it. Why? Because it interferes with their capacity to control the mindset and the mentality of Americans. And if other Americans saw 200,000 people marching for Palestine, they might think maybe I should start paying attention to Palestine. So they don't show this, okay? Because it all goes back to the flow of information and the flow of control of money itself and how people view the systems of power as such. This is why we don't actually live in a democracy. We live in a country that is ruled and ran by money. And God we trust is on the dollar bill, but they're not talking about Yahweh, they're talking about the dollar bill itself. People need to wake up and understand one thing above everything else. Until we can reimagine what money is, how it works, how it functions, and whether or not it is actually a benefit to the majority of humanity or not, we're not going to change this system. And until that comprehension is actually understood and actually confronted, we're going to continue to deal with the same bullshit over and over and over again. Red versus blue till we're all fucking dead. And that's not going to be that long because of the fact we have 9 years till we're past the point of no return. And let me just end on this. Anybody who is stupid and worthless enough to think that Joe Biden or the Democratic Party is going to actually work to fix climate change is a fucking idiot. Now, why is this? Because at the end of the day, if you actually told the American public the reality, the severe reality of what climate change is, the one thing that would happen, the one thing that would undoubtedly happen is there would be a huge upheaval of change within this society, okay? People would look at every form of structural authority in an entirely new light, and we would have to reimagine so much of what we think about the world today. The problem is that the fucking elites know and they comprehend is that if that actually happened, if humanity actually organized well enough to take on the issue of climate change, what would happen? The entire structure that puts them at the top and everybody else on the fucking ground and below them would be entirely upheaved and overthrown, and they would rather
all of humanity die while they're in power, then they be taken out of power and all of humanity be saved. It is a death cult, and it is a cult of money worship. That's why they talk about the magical hand of the market. Are you guys fucking worshiping that shit? Because that's what it sounds like. And they worship it because they do. Like George Carlin said, it's a big club and you ain't in it. They own all the big businesses. They own the media. They own all the politicians. They don't, listen. Politicians are there to give you the illusion of choice. You have no choice. It's just an illusion. Because at the end of the day, if you really understood how badly you were getting fucked, you'd overthrow this goddamn thing in a second. And they know it. So at the end of the day, the only way this is going to change, the only way this is going to get better is functionally when we as Americans, we as individuals choose to educate one another, choose to really tell each other the truth and bring the truth to the forefront of all of this. Because at the end of the day, we are the majority. And society is nothing besides a bunch of people coming together to make each other's lives easier and better. The problem is all of society has been predicated and centered around this conception of money because the people in power who make the money, control the money, want us to do so because it's an easy mechanism for them to control all of us without actually ever having to truly control all of us. Besides, the prison industrial complex, which, again, thank you, Joe Biden, for continuing to allow the rape of men in prison, especially black men in prison. Because, Joe Biden, rah, totally on the black people's side. Idiots. Deuces.